going on? It's your boy Sermon, thesermonsdomain.com.
What's going on, man? It's Reese, themarsupiempire.com.
Today we're here to talk about G-Unit's second EP since the reunion. The Beast is G-Unit.
Yes, sir.
Take it away. So I know you got the strong thoughts here.
I'm not impressed with this album at all. Actually, I'm a little upset at the album. Let me tell you why I'm upset with the album. Because I'm a big fan of Beg for Mercy. When I was in high school, and then even my freshman year in college, like my whole high school career was 50 Cent's time. You know what I'm saying? That's when he introduced G-Unit like on a larger scale. I remember listening to like the Lloyd Banks mixtapes and stuff like that. And I was a really big Lloyd Banks fan, especially because of his lyricism. He had like a gruff voice, so I kind of like went to that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of like what I listened to. He's a dope rapper. Then we get introduced to Buck and Yayo, and in the game obviously was a part of that collective, no matter how you look at it from contractual or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
So for me it was like, yo, like 50 is 50. You know what I'm saying? Like he's the guy, he's the dude. 50 is filthy. His first album, Get Rich or Die Trying, is a classic album, you know what I mean? The Massacre was still a good album, it wasn't as good, you know what I mean? But then Beg for Mercy was amazing. We listened to that every day. And then when the movie came out, we listened to the soundtrack all the time.
Soundtrack was great.
Yeah, the soundtrack was amazing. So like just going off of that, so like that was G-Unit to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're comparing the old G-Unit to this.
Yeah, and it is very unfair to do that. And I'm not gonna lie and say that it's very unfair to do something like that because people are, they're different. I mean, people change the artistry, and that was 10 years ago. Right. You know what I mean? I mean, when the movie came out, 06, 05, late 05. So it's very unfair to it's 10 years past that. But listening to this new album, I feel like they're going for a new sound, and I feel like they're trying to switch up the way that they're flowing and stuff like that on different records. Like it's very especially prominent on Ballin' and Bring My Bottles. Yeah. And I feel like Banks is trying to be somebody new with the way that he's flowing. I hate to give Lil Wayne any type of credit musically nowadays, but it sounds like a lot of the Wayne's flows like on his latest music. So. And I know Kid was part of like that Young Money camp to an extent at a point in time. So I don't know if that was Kid's influence on Wayne at that time, and now he's like having an influence on G-Unit. Now, I mean the way that it's going, Kid could be a very underrated artist. You know what I mean, of the past 7-8 years. You know what I mean? He could be like very underappreciated, and it just seems like wherever he goes, like people like try to take on his style, and people have been saying that he spits crazy. We haven't really been able to see that, because he hasn't put out like a ton of music. But maybe he just has an influence on people around him.
It could be, that could be the deal. Maybe that's why 50 had him in G-Unit, because he just kind of inserted him in there, and nobody's really complaining about it either.
But it didn't make sense to me. I'm not second guessing 50 because 50 is 50. So
it doesn't make sense to add anybody to G-Unit at this point. He tried that, and you look what happened. All these people that were included on G-Unit, but. The way I look at the EPs, they had the Beauty of Independence last year, and they had the Beast of G-Unit. I look at it like, because you mentioned they're trying to do a new sound, and the way I look at it is maybe they're experimenting while they're working on an album, because obviously they're going to do another album, and they're just trying to see what fans will actually gravitate towards, what fans will would appreciate. It
makes sense. Yeah. Hopefully
they're keeping their ear to the internet, to the streets, people around them, seeing what the feedback is for these.
Right. I'm gonna say it, man. I feel like Kid shined on this entire album. I think he was the one to shine here. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that was set up by design or if he's just like that guy on this. You know what I mean? And like we spoke before, because I haven't really heard your thoughts about it, but you said that he had some of his best verses on this project. Yeah. And the Kid that I've heard from before on different projects, I wasn't a fan
really
of.
Impressed.
No, not at all. And I was wondering why he continues to get opportunities, but like if you lower the playing field, you're gonna shine. Right. You know what I mean? Like. And that's how I feel on this.
Yeah, because G-Unit themselves, they should be outspitting Kid every time. No disrespect to Kid, obviously, but when you think of what Young Buck, Lloyd Banks, Tony Yayo, and 50, what they all did, both as a collective and as solo artists, this is not up to standards. And I feel like the Beast of G-Unit, it's not bad music. When I first listened to it, I thought this is pretty good, but then I gradually listened to it more, and when you hold it to G-Unit standards, in that bracket,
you can't hold it to G-Unit standards.
Yeah, when you hold it to G-Unit standard, it doesn't sound that good. But when you hold it to just music in general, I feel like there's definitely some records. Bring My Bottles, I like that record. I'm not a club goer, but if I was, I think that has the potential.
I'm really impressed by Boy Boy. It sounds to me like, one, it's the best record on the album, I think by far. It sounds like the most polished record on the album. It sounds like one they put the most focus in. And I don't know 50 personally, but knowing 50, listening to him, like how he game plan certain things, how he masterminds certain things, this sounds like this was his in the club for this album. It was like, yo, this is the record that we're gonna put out there for people. I've heard this record talked about in different interviews and stuff. Shout out to Jake One for, you know, whatever part he played in the production, you know what I'm saying, even whether it was the drums. Shout out to those gentlemen as well, you know, because they're amazing. But again, shout out to Jake, just having his hands all over everything all the time. The dude's amazing, but it just sounds like, you know, the most polished. Like, okay, this is what we're gonna take and run with. This is what we're gonna put out to the public, you know, as a lead-off single, whatever. Yeah, and because it's gonna draw some attention, it's really good.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just overall disappointed, man.
I like the fact that they linked up with the Honorable C-Note. He's a really good Southern producer.
Yes, absolutely.
Done a lot of stuff for a lot of people. I think he's worked with Kid in the past, so maybe that's where, you know, that came in too. And we're, you know, the record was I'm Grown, and it's not a bad record. I don't know if it fits G-Unit necessarily, but it's not a bad record. I like to see, you know, C-Note get shine like that.
I liked it. It seems like the further into the tape they got, everybody got more comfortable. And I know that's a different way of looking at it, because I know that these things aren't really progressive all the time. You know, especially, you know, we talk about sequencing. You know, I don't know in what order it was produced, but it seems like the front half of the album was like, okay, this is the new sounds that we're going for. This is the new whatever, you know what I mean? And then as we get like further into the album, like, you know, Doper than my last one, Boy Boy, and Choose One, it just seems like people are like more comfortable in the lane. People are more comfortable, you know, like being the way that they were, which worked. And it wasn't like what they were doing before wasn't working.
Yeah, Banks was, you know, I like Banks on Doper than my last one, but I feel like I want more out of Banks, you know. When I look at Banks, I look at him like, I want more punchlines, you know. I want him to be that hunger.
Man, but people always wanted more out of Banks. Yeah. Always. Like his entire career, people wanted more out of Banks.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely, you know, hurt him, because it puts a lot of pressure on somebody.
Yeah. It's kind of unfair because you're in 50's shadow, but it's not like you can't spit. So 50's a beast, where
I think
he's just a beast all around.
I think I wouldn't mind being in 50's shadow. I feel like, because, you know, you look at Tony Yayo and Lloyd Banks, they've been in 50's shadow, but they're big artists. They have their own careers, even if they're in the shadow.
Absolutely.
It's not like a...
And shout out to Yayo, man, for sustaining his career, you know what I mean, like on his
without a sophomore album, by the way.
Right, and still be relevant. You could put Yayo on anything right now. Yeah. And I was saying to you before, I've never really been impressed with Yayo's lyricism. I've always been impressed with like his energy. I've always been impressed with like how real he was, what he brought to the music. Again, he doesn't have to be like a wordsmith. Yeah. You know what I mean? For us to be able to respect him and, you know, put him up on that pedestal, like, okay, this is Tony Yayo. You got a Yayo feature, okay, you know, how's that gonna sound? You know? Right. I'm gonna make the comparison, man. He was probably like the 2 Chainz of my generation, where you could get somebody who wasn't as lyrically, you know, impacting, but you fuck with that energy though. You're gonna be like, yo, like, oh, this is Yayo? Okay, yeah. I'm gonna listen to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna listen for a Yayo feature. Right. No disrespect to 2 Chainz or Tony Yayo, but that's like who I would compare him to as an artist. You know what I mean?
No, it's a fair comparison to make. So, what would you rate the EP?
A 2.5.
2.5?
Yeah, and I feel like that's, I mean, and I can't put it at a 3, because I'm only going to listen to Boy Boy ever again. I'm not going to listen to the rest of this music, because I feel like it's disrespectful to my memory of their music previously. You know what I mean?
I'm going to give it a 3, because I like the, I feel like I listen to this more. I mean, you can see the plays right now. I've listened to it over 9 times. And that's just impressive. And, you know, I definitely listened to a couple more records off of this. It's definitely in the same lane as, you know, The Beauty of Independence. I thought at one point it might be better, but I definitely wouldn't count The Beauty of Independence as better. So I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give it a 2.
I'm going to give it a 2.5, man.
Yes. So.
Alright, so our next segment, what we're going to do is we're going to, 10 questions that we had about the album that we're going to ask. We want you guys to come up with some answers for them. If the artist can answer them, that'd be amazing. So if G-Unit actually reached out and answered the questions, that'd be effing phenomenal. But Sam, go ahead and get it started, man.
All right, number one. Why is 50 Cent using auto-tune for the ball and hook?
I didn't understand that either. I was actually pretty upset by that. Second question we have is, can I give Tony Yayo best reference award for his Pootie Tang belt game, show some respect line? Can we shout out to Yayo for that?
Love Pootie Tang. Generic question, who had the best verse? A lot of verses on here, a lot of different artists, so.
Definitely. Question number 4, do you think Lloyd Banks has it in him to be the PLK again, the Punchline King? Can Banks be that guy again? You think he'll come back out and be the Punchline King once again?
Can we retire the use of the phrase boy boy?
I hate that, and it should never ever be used ever again.
Good song, but not a good phrase.
Last time that phrase was relevant was I was watching Paid in Full, so there's that. And does this EP surpass The Beauty of Independence, the last EP? Let us know. I'm really interested to see how people feel about that.
Yeah. Why did 50 have more role on this EP?
Where was 50? I listened to. I thought that, bro. I'm telling you. I'm listening to it. I'm like, okay, 50 starts it off. Where's 50 at?
He doesn't have.
I think he has one verse. There was one verse on the rest of the thing. He did like a hook, or part of a hook, and that was it.
He's in a couple of hooks. There's like 2 of them.
And then, but no, like no notable verses.
No.
And at this point, do you care that 50 just threw Kid in? Like now he's part of G Unit. Does anybody care that he's just? I mean, it is what it is now. Yeah.
Can we get that new G Unit album already?
Please, because we haven't heard anything good, in my opinion, in like the last 2 years. So. And then last question, can G Unit make up with the game so that we're spared from getting a Game and Jim Jones album?
Please.
I don't think anybody's anticipating new music from the game, and I don't think anybody's anticipating new music from Jim Jones, let alone as a collective.
This is not 2004. We're not going to get a whole album of Certified Gangsters.
Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
It's called Certified Gangster, right?
Off the record they did.
Yeah. So, no. Was that 2004?
Yeah.
That was, yeah. Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So, subscribe to the channel, like the video, let us know your comments on the EP below. If you want to answer the questions, go ahead and do that as well. Follow us on Twitter at Sermons Domain.
At Evil Marsupials.
Yes, and once again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.
Peace. This is a fun review, man.
Very fun.